DSTP working committee to be set up. Delay in drug supply for clinics. And punters put money on Olam. Good evening and thanks for joining us for Saturday's news. A working committee will be set up to go through all the submissions made during the two-day consultative forum in Lae on the deep-sea tailing disposal method. The decision was made by the Environment Minister Mori after listening to submissions by individuals on other tailings disposal methods backed up with their research. This comes after Morbe Governor Ginson Saunu's announcement to remain with the people of Morbe on their call against disposing tailings from the Wafi-Gopu project into Morbe's Huon Gulf seas. Mr. Saunu proposed to the national government to challenge the status quo by listening to the people and seriously consider the other options presented. Meanwhile, the people of Morbe are standing firm on their decision to say no to DSTP and yes to the development of the mine on the condition that other disposal methods are used. A decision on tailings disposal methods for the country's multi-billion Kina Wafi-Gopu project now depends on the outcome of Minister Mori's newly proposed working committee. It is never an easy task distributing medicine to a country like Papua New Guinea, and the art of distributing that much-needed medical supply to provincial hospitals and clinics is causing a major delay to patients receiving timely treatment. While area medical stores in provinces provide much of the other drug supplies for health clinics, it is the resistance drugs that continue to arrive late for ailing patients for TB and HIV. One health centre in PNG's second largest city is urgently calling on the Department of Health to get drugs for TB and HIV patients delivered on time so patients can be able to replenish their doses. And at Cora reports.
The availability of medical supplies, especially drug-resistant treatments for TB and HIV, as well as suitable personnel in adequate numbers, is crucial to ensuring a well-functioning medical supply chain in PNG. Expressing dissatisfaction over the delay of TB and HIV patients' treatment, Sister Pauline from the Center of Mercy in Lae says it is disheartening to see patients willingly come in for treatment but leave again without their much-needed dose.
In July, we stayed almost 1 month without TB medicine, and patients were coming in and out, in and out. I think I heard of one patient of around here, Cancun, but we are not sure was it TB or not, but the patient was on TB treatment.
Stating that the Morbe Provincial Health Authority is aware of the dilemma that the health center is facing, Sister Pauline says the delay is with the health department, being that TB and HIV treatments come under a directly funded health program. The supply comes direct from the Department of Health. Reasons as to what is causing these delays are still unknown.
We have partnership with the government, so half of our staff are paid by the government. Half they are paid by the clinic. That means the Catholic Diocese of Lae.
Yeah. So that's the only assistance that's coming into the clinic, the Catholic Diocese?
Yes, they intervene whenever there is problem with funds. And it is the same when there is any problem with medicine, so the Catholic Church, they intervene, they come in.
Due to the delay of the resistant drugs not arriving on time, patients are only given 14 days supply instead of the usual 1 month supply.
But we managed to keep our patients hanging on. The problem now we face is the pediatric ART and TB as well. TB currently now, month of September last month and this month of October, TB they are running out of continuation phase. After 4 months of taking the intensive phase, they'll go on for continuation phase. And for HIV, we have adult ART, but we are facing problem with pediatric ART.
The Center of Mercy in Lae, Morbe Province is among one of many other small health facilities in the country that continue to see patients of drug-resistant medication deteriorate. Meanwhile, an important objective of the National Health Plan is the National Public-Private Partnership Policy, which the country is starting to reap the benefits of. One such partnership came in the beginning of this month, with Bismarck Maritimes Limited offered to the government to have medical supplies delivered freight-free to all major seaports serviced by Bismarck nationwide, an offer sealed with an acceptance by the government to begin on the 3rd of October through to the 31st of December 2021, with considerations of extending this free freight and logistical service beyond 2021.
In each case, although there were patients there was no medicine. HIV patients couldn't continue their medication. TB couldn't continue. So then I then decided that Bismarck would make an offer to ship all of the medical supplies from Port Moresby to all the ports that we service.
While it is common knowledge that the tender process can be time-consuming due to the prolonged process, this arrangement is expected to put a stop on the late delivery of medical drugs and considered inexcusable on the Health Department's responsibilities towards funded health programs for TB and HIV. Annette Cora, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. A remote village in the Karukuhiri district of Central Province has recently decommissioned its 45-year-old United Church building as a result of rising sea levels. The church building isn't the only thing claimed by the sea.
From this to this, the once populated beachfront is now underwater. A hidden paradise in the Karukuhiri district of Central Province decommissioned its United Church building, which stood the test of time, but with the rising sea levels, gave way. Frank Ume, an elder in charge of the decommissioning program, said the church was built by their forefathers and it was sad to see it fall. According to Imo Aihi, another elder in the village, the building of the United Church started in 1964 and continued through to 1974. It was officially opened in 1975. Bishop of the West Central Papua region during the decommissioning stated that for a rural community to come together for their church building was an answer to prayers.
Answer to our prayers. We proclaim the gospel from the pulpit every Sunday when an opportunity arises. And we think of our people right in the rural communities, praying that they will continue to commit their lives to God and work together no matter what the circumstances may be. And I think you witnessed yourself. Situations such as this arise. It brings our people together.
As the village prepares to build anew, visiting elites have come to assist.
And to reciprocate your invitation, I want to give you some food supplies for your men who are going to work during the week. And also I'm going to give you a voucher of 1,000 kina for BNBM.
With the sea continuing to take unforgivingly on the shores going inwards, the church building is beyond repair. The posts giving way, broken walls, ceiling giving in, it is inhospitable, a sight almost hard to bear. For many in the village, the church brings unity and has done so in its 45 years of service to the people. It's not only the church that has been affected. The damage from the rising sea levels have been drastic on the entire community, sweeping away houses,
houses along the coast beach have disappeared. Over almost 100 houses. Now we have only 12 houses left in this last row.
Even taking the dead.
Most of the people was washed out by the sea. People didn't want to remove the boats. Others, they take of their own family members, so they have to go and collect the boats from there before the waves come in. Once they came and collected them, bury them in higher grounds.
Assistance from the government came through the Provincial Disaster Office and other Nabwa elites in attempts to stopping the water surges from reaching the village. These, however, were unsuccessful as the walls could not withstand the water surges. The villagers are now moving to higher ground. As they move inland, new issues arise. One in particular, conflicts in ownership over land. Despite these issues, it is saddening to see that it has taken less than 5 years for the city to claim the once beautiful village and its United Church building. Kilawani, National EMTV News.
Today, more than 20 students were awarded for their participation in a recent COVID-19 essay competition for primary schools in Lae. Chief Marker Catherine Tobam said it was an initiative that allowed students to write, and the best pieces were chosen. The award presentation coincided with an SME meet and greet event hosted by Papindo in Lae. The Papindo shopping mall's third floor in Lae became an SME meet and greet center today. Finance companies set up information booths for SMEs and customers at the mall.
And this is part of Papindo's mission to have value added to our customers' experience here.
There was one other event that coincided with the meet and greet. This was the presentation of the awards to primary school students who participated in a COVID-19 essay competition. Over 3,000 students from 19 primary schools in Lae took part, and these students were the top writers.
The whole purpose of the competition is to write about COVID-19 because it is pandemic throughout the world. That is why the students need to write about this so that they can make it like an awareness in their community, in their schools, and in their family as well.
While there were other sponsors that supported the competition, one of the key stakeholders was UN Women.
UN Women played a really key role in making sure that COVID-19 awareness reached to all the schools through this essay competition, but not only through the essay competition, but we also ran COVID-19 awareness trainings for the teachers, for the principals and teachers.
The meet and greet is the first SME event hosted here. Papindo has hosted other events as well, one of them being the Arts and Crafts Market that takes place here every end of the month. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lae. Over 20 students from the University of Papua New Guinea's science arm were part of an excursion to the weather office. This is part of the UPNG capacity building with science and technology. UPNG School of Natural and Physical Sciences Acting Executive Dean Professor Chalapan Kaluwin says this is a normal part that the university plays. The institution uses our own sectors to provide in-depth knowledge on how the different sectors must work together, like the Transport Ministry and Weather Office. He added that an interaction like this very important, that provides also a platform for students to do their internships.
To bring university kids or institutions to come to and pay a visit to what they have in terms of its technology, sophistication, data, and how you collect this data to take it back and to their provinces or where they go from after this. So when a kid gets up, he graduates, he knows about this weather office. He knows the information. But that's normal to every other thing. So we make it a habit, making sure the capacity is smart. So if they leave to go and work for NASA or anywhere in the world, including Bureau of Meteorology, WMO, World Meteorology Organization, they came out from some backyard in our country. But that's our process. That we want to get our kids to go to other parts of the world to get the knowledge, but it starts from here.
A betting shop in Port Moresby has confirmed many Papua New Guineans have placed money on Justin Olam to score the first try in the NRL Grand Final. Pacific Racing and Sports Betting Limited confirms Olam's market is at $13 and Punters putting much focus on his club Melbourne Storm.
I think there's going to be a lot of interest in Melbourne Storm, but the Panthers could turn up on the day and anything could happen. You know, that's the reality. There could be players sent off. There'll be referees' decisions, there'll be a lot of excitement, and it could go either way. It'll be a very high-pressure game. You know, Justin Olam is a legend of PNG. There'll be a lot of people following him, and We've already seen some interest for him to score the first try. Justin Olam is paying $13 to score the first try.
So if you back Justin Olam to score the first try, you get 13 times your money.
And National EMTV News continues with stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas to the U.S. with over 70,000 new cases being announced per day, U.S. officials are eager to find a solution to combat the coronavirus pandemic going forward. How to bring America out of this crisis was the opening question at yesterday's final presidential debate. With 40,000 patients in hospital on the day, 16,000 deaths since the day of the first debate, and over 200,000 deaths across the United States since the start of the pandemic, Americans across the country were eager to know how their next president would lead the country during the next stage of COVID-19. President Trump, who took the floor first to speak, reared away from a real answer, but spent his 2 minutes of talk time to say months of COVID surges had been reduced, and in referring to his own experience of contracting the disease, said the people of America would be safe.
More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Trump's words, according to challenger Joe Biden, were not assuring enough. Biden came out on top saying anyone who allowed the pandemic to get out of control didn't deserve to be president and should not be.
Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
President Trump in his address said a vaccine for coronavirus is only weeks away, a contradicting statement as Trump's own advisors say creating a vaccine could go well into 2021.
We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
It's the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people.
40% of Americans have said they would happily take a coronavirus vaccine if it is approved by the government. Biden saying if it were to be approved, he would make sure that processes are followed diligently to ensure safety for Americans and for the world to see.
Totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes.
The pandemic, which has killed more than 224,000 people in the United States and cost millions more their jobs, has become the dominant issue of the campaign, with Trump on the defensive over his administration's handling of the crisis. Trump said the former vice president and his Democratic allies were trying to scare people by overstating the virus threat.
Think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. You tell the people it's dangerous now, what should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Biden hit back with a personal blow at Trump, who, while stating he takes full responsibility, blamed it on China.
Take full responsibility. It's not my fault that it came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that it came here either. It's China's fault.
Millions of people in Zimbabwe who have long struggled to get enough food to eat are facing a new challenge. A border designed to keep the coronavirus out is also blocking supplies from getting in.
South Africa has a shiny new border and they guard it jealously, designed to keep them a safe distance from their impoverished neighbours. For Zimbabweans, COVID has added another disaster to their heavy burden of woes. And for men like Tatenda, a family to support, the blocked-off border is a lifeline severed.
I crossed to buy fuel and food because there's no employment in Zimbabwe. The food in Zimbabwe is too expensive.
The South African Army tell us they're stopping hundreds of Zimbabweans every day.
Those who want to sustain their families they cross on the river. Those who want to do business, they cross on the river. Those who are coming here for medical purpose, then they cross through the river.
Here, schools are ushered back across the Limpopo that marks the border. But there are plenty of holes cut in the razor wire and plenty of desperate people. In Zimbabwe, the count of COVID casualties is low, officially at least. But the economic isolation from South Africa has been catastrophic. The rate of inflation topped 800% this summer. The basics of life are priced out of reach. A weekly shop can eat up much of a monthly salary. And lucky are those who have work. For this Harare family, each and every day is a struggle to survive.
Life is very tight. It's hand to mouth. This is hand to mouth kind of a game. Hand to mouth. If you don't wake up, you won't have anything on the table.
Help is a long way away, in this case 700 miles distant. In Johannesburg, Patricia packs food parcels onto a lorry that will head back to Zimbabwe to feed her 3 children.
They'll trouble me, keeping phoning day and night. Mama, we are hungry. Mama, we have nothing. But I can't manage also to send every time.
As the COVID crisis subsides here, so authorities on both sides of the border are under pressure to stand down controls. For Zimbabweans, hunger is a far greater menace than the virus.
A surge in COVID cases in parts of Europe and the UK is putting even more pressure on already stretched health professionals. In Belgium, there are fears hospitals will be at its capacity in just a matter of weeks.
They're already fearful in Belgium, new infections increasing here at such an alarming rate in rest homes. New visiting restrictions are in force.
Today we went over the maximum number of COVID patients we ever had during the first wave. We already have 100 patients in COVID rooms and 21 in ICU.
There's concern the nation's intensive care units will hit capacity by mid-November if the surge continues, as cases among the over 90s hit 700, more than doubling in the past week. The wider population is losing patience.
We will stand and manage, but it won't be easy because we're tired and we don't feel the population's support that we had during the first wave.
In northeastern Spain, young doctors also frustrated, peeling off in protest. They're angry about working long hours for low pay and say there's little oversight as hospitals struggle with the surging caseload.
We worked many more hours than legally permitted for close to the minimum wage. We feel naked and unprotected.
In Sweden, rest homes remain open to visitors despite a rise in cases. More Swedes donning masks as officials maintain the spread is lower than in many other European countries. And the news is dire across the Channel, where some pubs and bars in Greater Manchester are being forced to close indefinitely due to another wave of tough government restrictions.
I think a lot of people don't really know what to do or what's going on, so they don't know whether anyone's open, anyone's closed, or what they're allowed to do.
Uncertainty seemingly the only certainty in the times of COVID.
It was the bombshell interview broadcast to millions. Princess Diana opening up about her bitter split with Prince Charles. But 25 years on, there are claims she was tricked into going public.
Scoop of the century, the most famous woman in the world sharing secrets about the future king, their relationship and his mistress.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
But now the BBC's exclusive is under a cloud of controversy amid explosive accusations around why the Princess of Wales gave such a revealing interview. A British documentary detailing a sinister plot to take advantage of a fragile Diana. Reporter Martin Bashir accused of duping her into believing that she was being spied on, allegedly showing her brother Earl Spencer forged bank statements, which made it look as though a former member of her staff was acting as a paid informant.
There will be an argument that a criminal offence has been committed.
She regretted every minute.
When the TV interview was broadcast to an audience of 23 million people, the royal family was not impressed. The documentary claims that it would set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to Diana's downfall. The BBC has admitted documents shown to Earl Spencer were forged, but claim they played no part in Diana's decision to give the interview. Martin Bashir is reportedly seriously ill with COVID-19 and unavailable for comment.
And Trukai Sport is next. Fidelis Tukina joins us after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. The Money Plus NCDC Vipers ended their season with an awards night this week. The team's management and sponsors feeling accomplished for the season. Though the Vipers fell short of a grand final berth, it was their goal this year to make it into the finals.
Very dangerous, and there it is.
The Money Plus NCDC Port Moresby Vipers have come out of the sheds in 2020, an improved team from their past 6 seasons. The Vipers finished 4th in their regular season and were knocked out in the preliminary final by Premier's Hella Wigman. But the Vipers had improved so much.
The Team Vipers this year has got a bit of crowd behind them compared to what it was the previous years.
The crowds did turn up for the City franchise, and it was because of their on-field prowess. Captain Adeka was summing up the team's performance, a drought-ending finals berth for the team.
It was evident when we, after 6 years, made it to the finals. Our performance this season spoke volume of spirit and dedication of not only the squad but everyone. Despite losing in the minor semi-finals, we look back on the season with pride. Thank you, my boys. Thank you.
A host of experience in the squad like Hunters recruit Ase Boas and a few more other Hunters players gave the much-needed injection of experience into the team. But Ase says he knows the team have set the foundations moving forward.
If what happens and we go back to Hunters and compete again next season, I believe we left every stone turned, and we believe Vipers will go a long way without our presence next year, but we will always around to support the team.
Patron and governor of NCD, Powers Pakop, knows the struggles, and with a massive boost in sponsorship and key changes in the structure of the team, they managed to make it into the finals. It was their goal for this season, although winning the grand final would have been a massive bonus.
We did not get into the grand final. But the important thing, as I said, is we set a goal, and we have achieved that goal, and that is to get into the final.
This year's sponsorship was huge, with a total of 9 sponsors, and more are expected for the next season.
For the first time, we have multiple major sponsors and minor sponsors. This is a record. And I hear tonight there are some more sponsors knocking on the door to come into next season.
Players were awarded for their performance in the season on the night, with Ben Wemin receiving the best back of the year. Enoch Maki got the best forward of the year. For the top try scorer, it was fullback Brendan Gotuno, while 5'8" Ase Boas got the top point scorer. Coach's award went to Iru Dikana, and the chairman's award went to Shalom Bire, while the player of the year was Thompson Tete. Governor of the National Capital District, Powers Pakop, patron of the Port Moresby Vipers franchise, says the team has improved so much in 2020 and have also to look forward to in 2021 the completion of their long-awaited home ground at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium facility.
Unlike in the past where we had some problems, all the time maybe funding is not enough, we have to appropriate more funds. This year we had no such problem. Maybe 1 or 2 we tried to step in, especially towards the final, support the players to give them a bit of more incentive. But the whole season, it was managed well. We will have a strong foundation for season 2021. It should be greater too because we will have our home ground. The Sir Hubert Murray Stadium will be ready It will be the best stadium in our city, not just in our city, but in our country. That will be our home ground. We'll play our own game. It will have your gym. High performance center will be there. And Vipers can only go better and better.
Hela Wigman's win in the Digital Cup 2020 has brought the Hela provincial government support to 2021 and beyond. Speaking during the presentation of the cup by the Croton Hela Wigman team to the franchise owner Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited, Philip Undialu, governor of Hela province, stated that the name Wigman represents more than just rugby.
So Hela Wigman has been a brand that been grooming young talents and promoting them, and we have produced so far. Apart from getting 2 times cup, the club has promoted a lot of young talents to go as far as international and both represent Kumul. So Wigman Club is not just about getting together for socialization purpose, for sporting purpose. We want to introduce a club, a culture, and a breathing space to promote leaders and business. That's why we're looking at non-drinking beer. You go to the field based on merits, on training, on fitness. The message that we give to each one of the players is you be the ambassadors on the field and out of the field. Wherever you come from, as long as you're covered under the Wigman brand, we want to see you going out with flying colors.
And Trukai Sports continues after these messages. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
And welcome back to Trukai Sports. Tomorrow's grand final has all the makings of a classic. It puts a young Panther side who have exceeded all expectations this year against the Melbourne Storm, who could be set to farewell one of the greatest players of all time.
Cameron Smith guiding the Storm through their final preparations ahead of Sunday's showpiece. But will it be his final farewell after 18 years with the club?
I've spoken to a few of my ex-teammates that are now retired, and they've told me that it was just one day they woke up and just in their mind they didn't want to do it anymore. And I haven't had that feeling yet.
Regardless of what the future holds, 37-year-old Smith will be crucial to the Storm if they're to win their 4th premiership. The man who's been in purple his whole career and is the only player to surpass 400 games will be remembered as one of the greats.
At the end of the day, no one has done what he's done now again.
Even more important to the result will be the battle of the halves. Cameron Munster versus Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary versus Kiwi Jerome Hughes, who's found his feet in the Storm 7 jersey.
He started his career with us as a bit of a utility. He played a bit of fullback, he played a bit of 5'8". Now we see the result of a lot of their hard work.
Hughes and Luai are just 2 of 14 with Kiwi connections who could take to the field across both sides. The likes of Luai and James Fisher-Harris from Penrith, while the Storm boast the likes of Hughes, Brandon Smith, Nelson Asafa-Solomona, as well as Jesse Bromwich, who's preparing for his 5th grand final.
Played with a couple of them as well, like James Fisher-Harris and James Tarmo, so it'd be really good.
The Warriors wish former coach Ivan Cleary well as he bids for his maiden premiership.
I've got up every day dreaming of winning a competition for the last 30 years.
30 years of waiting, now there's just 2 days to go.
The final round of the IndyCar season in St. Petersburg is said to be one of the biggest days in New Zealand motorsport history. Championship leader Scott Dixon claimed his 6th title, leaving him just one shy of the all-time record, while Supercars champion Scott McLaughlin makes his much-anticipated debut.
To say Scott Dixon and Scott McLaughlin are excited to compete against each other would be an understatement.
He's always wanted to come to America. I think it's really cool to have another Kiwi in the field.
To be racing him and still be in his era, that's pretty cool.
And if all goes well for the 3-time Supercars champion, McLaughlin could make the switch to Indy permanent.
I've done everything I wanted to achieve. So if it did come to the point where I was moving on from supercars, I completely would be satisfied.
The man he's hoping to follow in the footsteps of is just one win away from championship number 6. Earlier, it never looked like coming down to the final race.
Wins in Texas, second no more. Scott Dixon wins.
At one stage, Dixon led the championship by 117 points, but finishing 8th or worse in 4 consecutive races hurt the Kiwi.
Unforced error by Scott Dixon.
Dixon's advantage over defending champion Joseph Newgarden is now just 32 points.
I think these adversities, obviously the ups and downs through the season, is what makes IndyCar racing.
A finish of 9th or better will be enough for Dixon, but he's hoping to bring it up with a win.
And that makes it the most simple. I think when you start to cloud it and make it complicated, then it gets complicated.
McLaughlin, on the other hand, just hoping to be competitive.
If I finish top 10, I'll be doing cartwheels.
With 2 Kiwis now flying the flag stateside, Monday morning could be our sweetest motorsport moment yet.
And that story wraps up Trukai Sports. Helen will return with the weather report for the next 24 hours. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for the morning and today. In the southern region, mostly fine, then afternoon thundery showers developing in Port Moresby. Fine weather in Daru, morning rain drizzle easing, then cloudy with afternoon showers expected in Kerma. Mostly fine weather in Alotau and mostly fine with afternoon showers in Popondita. In the Mamasa region, cloudy with occasional rain showers in Leh, mostly fine, then afternoon showers in Medang. Morning rain easing for a cloudy day, then afternoon showers in Wewak and mostly fine, though cloudy at times in Panimore. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy with occasional showers in Lorengau, mostly fine weather in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, and mostly cloudy with possible afternoon showers in Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, morning fog clearing for a cloudy day, then afternoon showers right across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kondiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's the way it is this Saturday, the 24th of October 2020. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.